Hello and welcome to the Brilliant Different podcast, where autistic voices lead the conversation. Today, myself, Michael, and my host and co-host Antonia are joined by Charlie, founder of the brand Neurospicy Co, a clothing line. Hello, Charlie, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So, Antonia, do you want to go first?
Okay, so can you tell us your name and what do you do?
So I'm Charlie. I'm an autistic and ADHD mum of 3 children under 7. My eldest is 7 years old. He's autistic non-verbal, tube-fed, ARFID diagnosed, sensory processing delay. My middle one is 5. She's probably likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. And my youngest, who's just turned 4 today, happy birthday to my little girl, is on her autism pathway, waiting to be diagnosed as health. And I own Neurospicy Co, which is an autism awareness brand, which I created 2 years ago.
I love that. What is Neurospicy Co?
So it's an autism awareness brand that I created because of my little boy who was always misjudged in public. So if he was having a meltdown, or he was in crisis, or he was loud, squealing, spinning, jumping, climbing, he was always seen as a naughty little boy. And he's not, he's just misunderstood. The room could probably be too loud for him, the space could be too busy, it could be too overwhelming. And because he's non-verbal, he can't communicate those feelings to us. So I just wanted to make a brand of clothing that was trendy, fashionable, didn't have jigsaw pieces or infinity symbols, which is the usual autism jargon that you get on like Etsy and stuff. And I just wanted it to be something that could raise awareness and spark conversation.
Okay, why did you start Neurospicy Co?
So because of my little boy, I just wanted it to be a conversation starting point, that if you saw him having a meltdown in public or being really upset, and you look at his t-shirt, one of our best-selling t-shirts says Cool Send Kids Club, which is obviously special educational needs, and it just then sparks a conversation that someone can ask what that means, and then I can explain he is autistic.
What does the word Neurospicy mean to you?
It was a play on words that I first started with. So obviously neurodivergent is the word that we are classed as when we are classed as autistic, ADHD, anything that's on the spectrum. And sometimes there is traits that mix into different traits. So I'm autistic and I'm ADHD. So it's a bit of a adding spices to the mix and mixing it all up a little bit. And it was a bit of a play on words.
What do you enjoy the most at your work?
I love seeing all of my customers that tag me and stuff on social media, their little kids, their little boys or girls wearing it. I love seeing the mums wearing it. I love it that it's this little community that I've created online now. There's over 7,000 of us on my Instagram. And I just love that I have a safe space now online that I never had before when my little boy was first diagnosed.
Okay. Why is autism awareness important?
I think the lack of knowledge still in society around autism or any neurological condition is very, very little. And I think there could be so much more awareness and acceptance of it, that if they are kicking off in public, it's not necessarily because they're naughty and because they're angry and everything else. Sometimes the space is just too overwhelming and people need to learn to make adaptations.
Exactly.
So I just, as much awareness as I can raise and acceptance and conversations that I can start about autism, so I can explain to you why my little boy's overwhelmed, or I can explain why he won't sit down and do what you want him to do. It just means that people become more aware of it.
What is one thing people often get wrong about autism?
I think there's always this prejudged assumption of autism that when you are autistic, you're like Rain Man, or you are a silent person, sometimes in a wheelchair, that there is this misconception of autism, when actually the spectrum is so big and it's so different. You could be, I have 2 children that are at completely different ends of the spectrum. So once you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. That doesn't mean that that's how everybody else that's autistic is. And I think that's the bit that I want to change, that it is so vast and so wide, the spectrum, that you could have traits that one person is okay with and then one person might struggle with. So I can be okay with smells and sounds sometimes, but then textures make me really uncomfortable. So it's just a case of raising awareness and showing people that everybody is different.
Exactly.
What do you wish more people understood about autistic people?
I think you should always presume competence with autistic people. I think you should always assume that they can do something. You should never assume that they can't do anything. And my little boy is a prime example. So he doesn't talk. He has very limited understanding of like what you say to him. But he also, in the next breath, can do things that his little sister can't do. So he can get himself dressed, which his little sister can't do. He can hold a pencil, which quite a lot of the children in his classroom can't do. He can write, he can spell, he can do maths, which when you look at him and you first assume that he's a non-verbal child, you think, oh, well, he can't do anything. But actually, there is so many things that he can do. And I think, yeah, always presume competence.
How can people be more kind and understanding
to autistic people?
I think you should always take everything with a pinch of salt. You should never assume anything. You should never assume that they're just being naughty in public. You should never assume that someone's being rude because they can't give you eye contact. You should never assume that because someone has chosen to shut down and essentially like selective mutism, you can't answer a question. You should never assume that they don't understand and then they're not taking in what you are trying to get across to them.
Okay. How can schools better support autistic peoples?
So AJ's school that he goes to in Reddish is absolutely amazing. They are so understanding of SEND children, but I do think that a lot of the mainstream teachers need to be trained more in it. I think there needs to be more understanding and a more wider scale training for teachers that don't necessarily teach SEND pupils. And I think it's a case of adapting their environment to meet their needs rather than making them adapt to your environment.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just a constant battle in
Exactly.
between.
Yeah.
Yeah. What helps autistic young people feel included?
I will always go out of my way to make sure that someone's included, especially if I've got a young child that's coming into my shop. I will always get down onto their level. I never want to be stood above them. I never want to make the hierarchy something that's scary to them. I'll always get on their level. If they don't want to talk to me, that's fine. I can sit and play next to them. They don't need to talk to me. I think you need to accept or include autistic children in however they will want to be included. So parallel play or just sitting in the same room until they feel comfortable. You don't necessarily have to push yourself onto them.
Okay. Why do you put autism message on your clothing?
To raise awareness and to spark conversations. So always advocate, like I'm wearing today. It's not necessarily just autism. It gives people the opportunity to ask what I'm advocating for, why I'm wearing it, what I want to raise awareness for, which then sparks another conversation, which can lead into me not necessarily teaching somebody about it, but explaining things a little bit better.
And starting the conversation.
Yeah. Do people ever start conversations because of your products?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I just said, I have people out in public that have asked what SEND means for Cool SEND Kids Club. I even have Cool SEND Mums Club, so I've had people ask what that means. I've asked people, we have a design that says respect the STEM. I've asked people ask what STEM means. I've had people ask all sorts of questions, and it just gives me then the opportunity to have a conversation and explain things.
Which product is your favorite and why?
I absolutely love the Always Advocate range. It's one of the first designs that I ever did. But the best seller is probably the Cool SEND Club. So the Cool SEND Mums Club, Cool SEND Dads Club. We've got Cool SEND Teachers Club. We've got schools send grandmas. Oh no, grandparents club we've got now. So it's a big, huge range that's like ever expanding.
Mm-hmm. What message do you most want people to hear?
I just think that everybody should be included, regardless of their disability, whether that's Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, cerebral palsy, fibromyalgia. I just think that everybody should have the equal opportunity to be involved in a situation or an environment.
Okay, what are the most proud of?
I'm extremely proud of the fact that we've been going for 2 years now, and we have just opened our own shop in Reddish, in Stockport, which that's pretty up there with one of my favourite achievements.
Mm-hmm. If you could change one thing in the world for autistic people, what would it be?
I would probably change the rest of society. And that's a wide statement, but I would probably change people's pre-assumptions of it. I would change that people can make a decision on somebody before they've actually met them and spoke to them and interacted with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you would like to our listening to know?
You can shop all of our designs on our website, which is neurospicy.co.uk. We are in Reddish. If you wanted to come into store, feel clothes, see things, try them on, we're always about. We are on Instagram. My inbox is always open for anyone that wants to message.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start. What like products have you got in your brand then?
So we have sports bottles for kids, non-spill sports bottles. We have travel mugs. We have insulated flasks. We have tote bags, hats, beanie hats, backpacks, hoodies, t-shirts, dry robes, you name it.
So like, how do you find it? Obviously, because you know, ADHD, and I've seen kids with ADHD and stuff and different disabilities. Like, how do you find like day to day with them?
Me or with them?
Just like
as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole.
Interesting. So obviously, with me being ADHD, my children are autistic. They're not diagnosed with ADHD yet because they're on the pathway for being diagnosed. You have to be a little bit older to be diagnosed with it. Mm-hmm. Just trying to get us all out the door in the morning is chaos. No one wants to put the shoes on. No one wants to get dressed. Someone wants to wear a princess dress to school. It's just chaos constantly. And I feel like once I've got everybody into their safe place, their classrooms, I then kind of need to recuperate and chill out and settle my nervous system down.
Like
breathe before I then go to work. And then I have to then try and focus on what I'm doing. So it is chaotic.
So how do you find, like, obviously, like being a business owner, like how do you find that?
I'm absolutely useless at anything admin. I have an accountant. I have people that do all my forms for me. I cannot handle life admin, essentially. That's one of my traits that I struggle with. I can't handle life admin. I'm very much a doer. So creating designs, creating new products, advertising things on social media, I can do all of that. Everything else I struggle with.
So obviously with having a clothing brand, obviously you were saying about like, obviously, because obviously like you said, some people have sensory smells, they don't like, some people, so is it like, is it more textures for you or?
Yeah, so textures for me is a massive one. I made sure from the get-go that everything I chose to use from my wholesaler was soft inside, it wasn't scratchy, there was no seams that could irritate people. And I just wanted the shop, so everything's made to order in our shop. If you order it, you can come and pick it up a few days later, but everything is there in store for you to feel, try on and see, because that's the thing that I struggle with shopping online as well, that you don't necessarily always know what you're getting. You can expect something to come and then it be a material that you absolutely hate when it arrives.
That's the thing with me, because it's like, especially like, because I like doing shopping and stuff, it's like, I'm very like, people like that, don't like the texture of that. Yeah. Or like even certain things, it's like, when we were driving here before, I have a thing that I don't know what it is, but I've always like, had a thing about cobbles. So if I walk over cobbles, I don't like walking over. If it just feels, it's like when we did the Coronation Street tour, I was like, I do love Coronation Street, but I don't want to be here. It's just, there's a thing like, ugh.
Yeah, it makes like your body feel funny. Yeah, no, I get it.
So, what's obviously, so how was it for you? So when were you diagnosed with?
I was only diagnosed last year. So I was diagnosed at 32, which is really late, actually. And I think if I'd have been diagnosed when I was younger, I could have got through school so much easier. I spent a lot of my school years in detention because I was classed as the naughty kid. I was disruptive. I couldn't sit down and pay attention in my lessons. Whereas actually, if I'd have been diagnosed earlier and I could have had things put in place so that I could have had adaptations to my classroom or the work that I needed to do, I probably could have got on a lot better in school. I also was bullied quite a lot in school. And I think when my son was diagnosed and you, as a parent, do your research into it to find out what you can do to help them, you then start to read up on the traits and go, oh, I tick that box. Oh, yeah, I tick that box sense as well. That makes sense for me. And then I looked at my dad and I was like, oh, okay, makes sense for my dad too. So actually, it's quite a family trait.
Yeah, it's like the same with me, because like with my family, like for years I was the only one who, well, like I knew that it was like autistic or ADHD, whatever, in my family. And then I think it was like last year, my cousin was like, oh yeah, so your little cousin's got ADHD. And I was like, oh,
I'm not the only one.
And then we looked at like autism, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. And then I was like, oh, see, I wasn't the only one on that in the family. Because it was always like me with autism, ADHD, and it was never, obviously I had friends, but there was never anyone in my family that, because I was like, where did it come? And it's like, oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
So they're always like asking me questions about it, and it's like, they're nice. But I think, like you said, there was always like some connection somewhere.
Yeah.
So, like, so what's like your, like, so like with, so like, is there anything that's like with your kids, is there anything like they like sensory wise, or is it more texture or?
So my son is a total sensory avoider. He doesn't like anything wet, messy, like paint, mud, slime, none of that. Won't get involved in any of that. If he gets a drip on his t-shirt, we're changing his whole outfit. Like, he absolutely will not do it. My little girl, who's the opposite end of the spectrum to him, if you give her a bucket of slime, she'll sit there all day. She'll be in the mud, she'll be covered in ice cream if she's eating it, she doesn't want to wash her hands, she's just full of bruises 24/7. And I just think it's so wild that you can be so different but be diagnosed with the same condition, essentially. And I think that's the point of the brand, that I just want to make people aware that, like I said before, if you meet one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. That's not the same for the next autistic person that you're going to meet. Everybody is so different. We might have similar traits and things that you might not like, I might not like as well, but then there's also things that I can tolerate that you can't tolerate. And it's just a case of raising awareness of it is so wide, and it's not just the autism that people were diagnosed with in the 60s and 70s.
I know, I think that's the thing though, to think like you, like when I was doing, I was like 9 when I was doing, I'm 22 now, but like you said, like I've met like a lot of adults that were like, so obviously, like even when I was diagnosed, it was still the thing of, and that was in what, 2014, and it was like, even then to now, like it was a thing of, oh, what does this, like obviously knew of it, but there wasn't a lot of
I also think there's a stigma around it as well. So like I've said to people before, my little boy's autistic non-verbal, and then I get, oh, I'm sorry. Well, there's nothing to be sorry about. No. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. He is such a lovable little boy, and he's so funny. He's got the best sense of humour. Yeah, he can't talk, but he does things, and you get little glimpses of eye contact with him, or you can get into his world and you can see the cogs going in his head when he's trying to figure stuff out. And he's the best thing ever. I wouldn't change him. I wouldn't take his autism away from him, because then he wouldn't be who he is. And I think that's the thing that I want to change. It's not something to be sorry about or to feel sorry for. It's such a wonderful thing that your and my brain works so differently to everybody else. and I think it should be embraced.
Yeah. So, with obviously Neurospicy, like how, so obviously now you've got your own shop, so like what's it like having your own shop as well?
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Public facing for me is extremely anxiety inducing. If I see the shop door open and a customer walk in, I have no idea what to say. It's like my whole brain goes blank. So that's a new learning curve for me that I've now got to learn to navigate dealing with the public as well. I've been on my Instagram and I can chat away on my Instagram stories all day because there's nobody to answer back to and there's nobody to ask me any questions. But being in a public facing shop is a new thing, but it's also something that's so needed because I have been essentially hidden away online. I'm now in the public space and everybody can see me, which is what we want, really.
Because obviously then it helps like raise even more awareness about your brand and obviously autism and other conditions as well. So like, so like how have you found like doing, like when you, from like, how have you found like the journey of having like Neurospicy, like from when you first started to now?
It's been a wild ride. When I first started it, I kind of was in the pits of my son in the middle of his regression where he was quite explosive. We did have quite violent meltdowns and like broken windows and stuff like that. And I just, at that point, was like, no, enough's enough. I need to make more people aware of it. So I went full throttle into the brand and got it up and running in a couple of months. Then last year, my son was fitted with a feeding tube and I was obviously diagnosed. So last year was quite a quiet year, essentially, and I've kind of navigated my way through that and unpicked parts of my own past and learned to unmask myself, essentially. And now we're coming into, well, 2 years, we were going for 2 years in April. So now I just need to get the brand as big and as seen as I can.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, when you sort of like whatever age like you get diagnosed, like you sort of look back and go, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So like, how did you, obviously different thing, obviously you don't know, so like, how did you say, like, how was it like getting your kids diagnosed with autism?
So because my son was non-verbal, he didn't hit all of the targets which the health visitors set out. So he wasn't hitting like these 2-year targets, then he wasn't hitting his 3-year targets. So he was diagnosed quite easily, and that's wrong to say. But because his traits were so visible and it was so obvious that he was autistic, it was quite an easy process to get my son diagnosed. With my little girl, who is verbal, if anything, she's hyperverbal, she doesn't stop talking. She can give you the most insane eye contact. It's scary. It makes you uncomfortable when she's looking at you. Yeah. And she can join in other children's play. She can let people join in her play. Because she can do quite a lot of typical things, people are struggling to see the autism, essentially. So it's a completely different journey trying to get my little girl diagnosed. We've still not got her diagnosed. We've been waiting over a year. We are starting to now, because the pressure of school is getting so much for her, she's starting to unmask in school now, and she's starting to
make it more.
It's more obvious in school. So now we're kind of getting a bit more evidence, which is the wrong way to do it.
But
it's needed.
A good way, yeah.
So now we're kind of gathering our evidence for it, and more people are seeing it other than just us at home. I think we're on the right path now.
Yeah. So that means that more says, didn't talk to the 3.5, which obviously another thing, you know.
Yeah.
And Mum was like, well, you certainly made up for it.
Absolutely. My little boy's he'd be classed as pre-verbal now. So he's quite a lot echolalia. So if we say something, he'll repeat it back to us. He uses an AAC device, my little boy, the iPad with a smart box on it. So he uses that to communicate with us. But because he's been using that, he also has now like verbal words. We can't have a conversation with him, it's not conversational. But if we said to him, can you go and find your shoes? He'll say shoes and go and find them. So we're getting there. We're getting words out of him, but he's still in his own little world.
So we say, was it, I don't want to say the term, was it S-AVID or ARVID, you were saying?
ARFID.
ARFID.
So that's avoidant restrictive food intake disorder.
Right.
And it's essentially when he was 3.5, the only thing he could control was what was put in his mouth. And he regressed massively with his eating. He used to eat everything. We used to get carrots, like broccoli, sweet corn, chicken, everything in him. And then over probably 6 or 8 months, he just regressed massively to we ended up with 5 safe foods that were all crunchy, because again, it's a sensory thing. And then not last year, the year before, he stopped eating and drinking completely in school, which was the only place that he was eating at that point, but he wouldn't eat at home. And he lost 5 kilos in 6 months, which how old was he at that point? He was just about to turn 6. As a 6-year-old little boy is quite a lot of weight. So we were then referred for a feeding tube, and now he's got a little feeding tube in his tummy, and he's absolutely thriving now. Still not eating, but we're thriving. We're getting food in other ways.
So like, how do you find it just like being a mum, obviously with like ADHD yourself, like with kids with like special needs and other conditions?
So overwhelming. So overwhelming. I put the kids to bed at night and sometimes need to just go and sit down in a dark room in quiet because the day has been so overwhelming for me. I spend my life with my loop earplugs in to try and reduce the noise everywhere. But I also think they've taught me so much about myself that I didn't know as a child, and obviously it led to me getting diagnosed at the age of 32. So I think they're the best things that have ever happened to me. I love all 3 of them, but sometimes I'd like them to be a little less loud and a little less boisterous and just sometimes sit nicely, but they're not going to do that. That's who they are, and I'm going to accept every part of them, and I'm going to embrace everything, and I'm going to fight all tooth and nail to get everything that they deserve.
Yes, thinking of like advocating, like how have you found it, like just trying to like advocate and fight for your kids for like to get,
AJ, again, because he's non-verbal, has kind of been handed things on a plate, which is a blessing, but it's kind of also harder for my daughter, who we're having to fight for to even get a diagnosis or to get any help within school. Like we were rejected for an EHCP because she's technically meeting targets in school, and she is, but she's masking all day, and she comes out of school and just explodes. So yes, she's meeting her targets, but at what cost? The cost of her mental health, my mental health. Like it's
very stressful.
It's really, really stressful. Yeah.
It's like, I remember when I was in like primary, like summer age, like I think like a nurse or said something to mum, like, because it's like you had to posture on for like, because it wasn't that obvious. I mean, when looking back when it was sort of obvious that I was autistic and so I was diagnosed, but it was this thing of, it was only after my dad died when I was younger, so it was only then like when you have meltdowns, like temperature, and it was this thing of like, obviously there's something not right. And then, and it's like I found it was similar with my cousin, because obviously I didn't know at first, I didn't know she was diagnosed with ADHD, but the same thing like going to hospital, there's something, and it's this whole thing of like you have to fight, and it's like, oh, but seems fine, nothing, or which, and then eventually.
Yeah, and it is a case of unless you start to flag things up, everybody just assumes that you're coping. Everybody assumes that you're fine. Everybody assumes that you can deal with it, when actually it shouldn't take somebody reaching crisis point
to go,
okay, we'll give you some help.
Because I think that's like with my dad, when that happened, I think that's what like triggered it, because obviously very upsetting, and it's like it made it a lot more obvious, because obviously I couldn't walk, but I had another condition at the time anyway, but I think it was this thing of it, and it's like you said, like with your autism, my mum said that about me. That's what the nurse said, like when I was younger, said like the way, like with your daughter, you'll be out all day, and then when you come home, it's just like
you hit
all
your
the
safe
emotions.
space. You've masked all day. You've conformed to society all day, and the minute you walk back into your safe space where there is no demands, There is no one expecting you to do anything. You can be yourself. It's like she just rips this mask off and goes, what the hell have I done all day? Like, I can just be myself now. I can let it all out. And at that point, our household's quite difficult because my eldest, my little boy, gets quite triggered by noise. So if she's then having a meltdown or she's crying or she's screaming, he'll then be triggered. So I end up with two of them that are in distress then at that point, and then my middle one's kind of stuck in the middle. So I need to grow an extra pair of arms, really, to just try and deal with them all. But I feel like I spend my life putting out fires to keep people calm.
And that must be obviously like quite difficult, mustn't
it? My fire's like on the roof, it's like burning the house down, but I'm trying to keep everybody else's fires to a minimum.
So how have you found it like with, like, obviously you said about the struggle, like, so how have you found it like with doctors and things like that?
So still to this day, if I have to go to the GP for my little boy, it's like it's not written on his medical file that he's autistic. It's not written down that he's non-verbal. He had, they thought he had tonsillitis a couple of years ago, and they said, can I bring him into the surgery so that the doctor can have a look? No, I can't. I won't even get him into the doctor's surgery because going into that clinical environment will just spiral him. So I was like, you're going to have to come to the car so that you're going to have to see him in the car park. Well, we can't really do that. Well, you're going to have to make adaptations because I can't bring him in there. My daughter, we are quite often into GPs or she's got quite a lot of things going on that she's so used to it now. But if it's a male doctor or a male physiotherapist or an occupational therapist, she does shut down. So it's quite overwhelming for her. If it's a female, she'll chat away, she'll chat your socks off. But I think men are quite scary to her, and navigating that's different as well. So I feel like I do a lot of explaining when I shouldn't really have to.
Well, that's the thing now, because it's like when you have to have, like, especially like when in the uni, you have to have all these like different specialists and referrals and like different things. Because I had occupational therapist, physiotherapist, like with autism, I had my low muscle tone, and obviously like that to me, like, quite like trying to just get that itself is like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you've got to have this, and oh no, but you've got to wait so long.
2-year wait list or 18-month wait list,
or you know, you can only see them like once. And it's like, I remember when I used to have physiotherapy, and it was this thing of like, I had it for quite a while, but then it stops, and then it's like, and then I think as your kids get older, it's like, what help can they get when, say, like,
when they're adults as well? I feel like you get to 18 and then everything stops. So then how do we navigate adulthood with them? And there's so many unanswered questions.
Because I think it's like, especially like with your like brand, at least, like there's something there, like, say, you know, if there's an adult with autism or whatever condition, something I can like, and like you said, you made sure it was like comfortable for them to wear texture white, so at least there's something there to like, you know, because obviously like not even just autistic people, like other people like sensory issues or things like that, you know, will want something that they feel comfortable in, or, you know, things like that. Which I think is important.
And I think it's also a case of if there was like an autistic adult out with their carer or their PA in public and someone spotted them wearing something that not necessarily identifies them as autistic, but kind of gives you a bit of a hint that there is a neurological or a disability going on with them, it then allows people to give them a bit of space and allow them to, if they are a bit upset, shouting, screaming, you don't need to stare, like, just let them get on.
Because otherwise it's not like always like really
it's not obvious. No. And sometimes, especially my little girl who's verbal and will shout things out of just being totally dysregulated. I've been told that she hates me. I've been told that she doesn't like me. She told the teacher she didn't like her this morning. And I think sometimes that would be then perceived as a her being a really naughty little girl or her being rude, when actually she's got no control of that. Her nervous system's up here and she's got no control of anything that's coming out of her mouth. The chances are, once she's calmed down, she'll have forgot everything that she's just said. And I think that's the bit that I want to change, that they're not naughty. They are just misunderstood.
So, like, with that, thinking of that, like, what do you think has been like the biggest challenge with your kids, like, in general?
Just so, as I'm mainly solo parenting most of the time, my partner works a lot. Navigating 3 of them, I can't take 3 of them out by myself. Thankfully, we do get respite for my little boy now, and he loves it. He wouldn't want to go to the farm with us. It would be too overwhelming anyway. But he thankfully now gets respite, so he now gets a specific routine every week that keeps him in his little routine, keeps him happy. He knows where he's going, he knows who he's seeing, which gives me the opportunity to take my 2 girls out. But because one is autistic and one's ADHD, well, one's probably ADHD, navigating those 2 while I'm out is really hard. That if my youngest doesn't like something or is really overwhelmed by the environment, but my middle one's not, she wants to play. But where do I go at that point? And I think I've been tutted at in public when my little girl's having a meltdown. I've had people stare. I've had people walk off if she's been screaming and crying on the floor. I've had people move the whole family away from us. But then I've also, because of like my brand and the t-shirts that my kids wear or hats that they've been wearing or backpacks that I've had on, I've also then had other people who might be send parents themselves that come over and go, do you want me to help? Do you want me to sit with her? Do you want a different face for her? Like, I think sometimes changing the environment that they're in, so giving her a different face to look at, or even if someone just takes my middle one away and lets them play with their little girl, it gives me the opportunity then to try and calm my little one down. And I think it is finding this little secret community that until you are part of the autism community, you don't necessarily know it exists. And I think once you kind of get drip fed into it and you do find out from word of mouth that things are available, or there's groups that you can go to, or there's support from this place, you do kind of navigate the world as it's just you and you don't know where to go and you struggle. Whereas I think it needs to be made aware that there is certain things that you can do. And I do eventually want to, in the shop, host like little workshops with health visitors or get people to come and do drop-in sessions with like help that they can provide. So I do want it to be like a little community hub, essentially, where you aren't alone. If you've had a really bad day taking your little girl or your little boy to school and they've not wanted to go in and they've had a meltdown, bring them to the shop. We've got a sensory area. You can come and have a brew. You can come and sit down. They can chill out. I think it just needs to be more understood and people aren't alone in it.
Because I think that's a really important thing, because obviously like there's not always like a lot of places that, you know, you can go to like...
No.
Because it's like, say, when we were at college, we had like the quiet room, didn't we, that we used to go in?
Yeah.
And that was a nice little space just to, like, you know, if you need like to chill out or like just have a chat with someone. But like, obviously, like, there's not always like that place.
It's not always available. No. And I think we've really struggled with even going to play centres with my little boy, especially if it's a main public session, because there could be 40 children in there at that point and there's just way too much noise, there's too many people, there's too many bodies about. People, like kids running around in play centres get sweaty, that it's like humid, which is another sensory overload. And I think sometimes, even when people offer send sessions, they could be at 6 o'clock at night, which is bedtime, or they could be at 7 o'clock in the morning. Whereas they need to make more adaptations to allow our kids to go and do things during the day and have massively reduced numbers and be able to access everything that every other child can access. Like, why are we segregated when we don't need to be?
Yeah. So to moving on for you kids, but obviously you're ADHD yourself, so like, like how, like what do you think for you yourself as like an autistic adult, like there needs to be more of, or if there's anything like you personally could, like aside from your kids?
I think there just needs to, and I am seeing it more and more with certain things, like I know at the Co-op Live they do have like a quiet room or a sensory room there for you to use. There is now one at Manchester Airport. I do think there just needs to be accessible opportunities for autistic adults, because autism doesn't go the minute you turn 18. No. It doesn't disappear. It's a lifelong condition, and I think there does need to be adaptations for adults as well, not just children. And I think sometimes when people say, oh, well, we've got a sensory bag in Sainsbury's and it's got ear defenders and some fidget toys and things like that, it's mainly aimed at children. No. Whereas actually a supermarket is really overwhelming for me. The noise of the trolleys, the tannoy, the music, people talking, checkouts beeping. Yeah. I think there needs to be adaptations. So having a quiet hour in Sainsbury's.
Like a lot of I think that's what, especially over the last few years, that's like, you know,
things
like
have
a lot
been
of
implemented.
Supermarkets have started doing things like that, like, which I think is good. It's like one of my friends, like you were saying about like she has a thing about, I don't know what it is, but so it must be a sensory thing, but like she's autistic herself, and she like sometimes like when we've been away or like been to a supermarket and it's like an annoying automated voice on like to till or in a lift or something, she's like, shut up.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's, and you don't think it first, but I'm like, it makes sense. It's like sometimes it can be like, really, you just try and like, if it was a person, it'd probably be a lot different. But if it's like this thing, like having them,
I get it.
No,
I get it.
You just don't want it there, do you? So like, how? Oh yeah. So like, how do you find just like navigating like school with, obviously, you know, obviously they're very supportive, but like, how do you find it like navigating like school life? Obviously like your daughter has like panic attacks and stuff.
So I'm struggling at the minute. My daughter has a mainstream place and she starts reception, so she starts school properly in September, but I'm currently, she's experiencing EBSA at the minute, which is emotional based school avoidance. So trying to get her into school in the morning could take me an hour. Today she's not gone in school. She's currently sat at my friend's house painting because she didn't want to go into school this morning. So we're navigating that at the minute, and it's really hard because there's not a lot put in place to then essentially make the environment that's something that she wants to go into. She can't tell us why she doesn't want to go in. But I feel like as soon as she goes into that classroom where there is 30 children, it's too overwhelming, it's too loud. So I'm in the process at the minute. I don't know whether to try and get her into a specialist school, a specialist class, reduced numbers. I don't know where we're going with that one at the minute. So that's really tough. But then my little boy, who is the one that you would think would struggle going into school with being non-verbal and everything like that, just toddles off, doesn't even say bye. So he's living his best life in his classroom. But then I struggle with the parents in the morning. The small talk makes me really awkward. Small talk makes me want to shrivel up and die. Like, I don't want to ask you how your day was. I'm not interested, really. So when people try and talk to me in the morning or in the afternoon after school, I'm so awkward and I probably come across as quite rude. But actually, it's just my internal monologue screaming that I don't know how to answer the question.
Yeah. I think that's like some people said to me, like when, not like a nasty, but like, I don't know, thought I was like a bit stuck up, so I'm like, no, I'm just autistic. It's like, that's what I mean, like when you first meet me, you might be like.
Yeah, people think I'm really rude, they think I'm abrupt, they think I'm stuck up or nasty because I do say things, I don't really have a filter between here and here. I just say what I'm thinking, or my face will show you that if someone said something and I don't understand it, I'll probably pull a face and not understand it, which then makes people interpret me as like rude, when actually no, my brain's just different to yours.
So obviously you're based in like Reddish?
Reddish,
yeah.
Yep.
So like where is that?
So it's Stockport, Reddish. I'm almost on the border of Gorton. I'm sure Lisa will put our address in the description of the video if anyone wants to find us, or you can find us on Instagram. We're at neurospicy.co. Same on TikTok, same on Facebook. We also have our website, which is www.neurospicyandco.uk. So yeah, we're always about. You'll find us in a lot of places.
Yeah, so what's like the age range for?
So we do from children's age 3 up to 14, and we do from an adult's extra small all the way up to a 5XL. So I want it to be really inclusive to everybody. We also have unisex fit tees so that it's not essentially women's or men's, everybody can wear them. We have hoodies, we have children's, and we also do the oversized fit tees for people that don't like the fitted tees.
That's right. So like, what would you say is like your best selling?
The Cool Send Kids Club is our best seller. The amount of that I've sold, I couldn't even tally up. We sell a lot of the Cool Send Mums Club range. I find it's a lot of mums that are buying things. It's mums that are on Instagram. And the Always Advocate range is a big seller, and also the Respect the Stim. We've just released a limited edition summer collection, which has been really popular, and I'm going to keep a few of those designs on as full-time designs because they've been that popular. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I've got such a good customer base that whatever I do release, people will buy it anyway.
Exactly. And I think like you said, especially like with the summer stuff, like you were saying before, like if it's like hot and sweaty, that's one of the things.
Yeah.
Sensual-wise, I think like if you get too warm, you just want something that's like nice and cool and fitted. So I think that's really important. So it's like you've definitely like included all the different aspects.
Exactly, and I wanted it to be inclusive. Like a lot of sizes, like a lot of brands only do like a small to a large, whereas I wanted to do it extra small all the way up to a 5XL, which just gives everybody the right to be included and to wear something fashionable.
So what's sort of like the price range for?
So the kids' t-shirts start from £16, and the most expensive item for the kids would be the dry robes, which are £55. And the adults' t-shirts start from £22, and then again, the dry robes being the most expensive at £75. The hoodies, depending on whether you want a heavyweight hoodie, which is good for sensory, it's nice and cozy, it's got the heavyweight fabric, or a standard hoodie, they're between £35 to £45. So I do think we're quite reasonable with our prices, and I did want to keep them as low as possible as I could within like my profit margins. But I did just want it to be accessible to everybody. We do often do like flash sales on the website. If you sign up to our subscriber list, you sometimes get secret offers that people don't have on like normal social media and stuff like that. So I am trying to make it as accessible as possible to people.
I think that's really good. So with brand and stuff, what do you think is your favourite? What's your favourite product?
I love the sweatshirts. I live in sweatshirts. And we've also just released a load of new colourways of stuff. So I did just used to do a white design on coloured t-shirts, whereas now I've started doing like coloured on coloured. So we've got loads of different colourways coming. We've got lots of exciting things coming for Christmas and Halloween. So I like to do limited edition things as well during the year. So like summer stuff, Halloween stuff, Christmas stuff, just to keep momentum going.
Yeah, and especially like, this is obviously that there's not a lot of things like specific like neurodivergent people at different times of year as well.
Yeah.
Which is another good thing. So it's like where would you see yourself, like, say, maybe like in 5 years' time with the?
I hope that the brand just keeps continuing to get bigger and bigger. I hope that in 5-10 years' time, I've got more than one shop in different areas in the UK. That would be amazing. I did have visions of setting up my own Send soft play, but again, the legalities of that, they're trying to get things in motion for that, find the right size building that I would need to be big enough for what I wanted to put in it and stuff like that is quite hard. And I do like to keep things local. So I'm Reddish born and bred. My shop's in Reddish. I didn't want to venture out of Reddish essentially because I wanted it for the community that I experienced when my son was diagnosed and the help that I didn't have. I want to be able to give back to that and give people something. So yeah, we just want to continue to grow and get bigger and raise more awareness.
That's very good. So, like, what's your favourite thing about running a business, like, as an ADHD?
I think being self-employed and running my own business means that I can essentially go and pick my kids up from school if school ring me. I'm not working a 9 to 5 where I have to answer to anybody else. I am working in my shop. I'm there school hours, so it fits around my children. So I'm only there 9:30 till 2:30. And it just means I am available for my children whenever they need me, but I'm also available for myself, that if I decide, actually today I'm really overwhelmed, I don't want to go and sit in the shop, I don't need to.
Well, she's your own boss, so then
Exactly.
it makes it easy.
There's nobody else to answer to.
So, like, do you have, so obviously, like, do you have anyone else that, like, works in the shop, or is it just...
It's mainly just me. My friends might come in and offer a bit of help on days that they're free, but it is just me doing it all by myself.
Yeah. So how does that feel?
I quite like my own company. Yeah. I'll often talk to myself and then realise I'm talking to myself. But yeah, I quite like being by myself. It does mean that then when I get home and I speak to my kids or I speak to my partner, that it's like word vomit, because I've not had like interaction with a human being all day. So it's like word vomit and I don't stop. But no, it's quite nice.
Yeah. I know I used to like volunteer at like certain charity shops, and it used to just be things, and like say if no one was about, I'd just be like, and the manager was like, are you talking to yourself?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I've answered my own questions before. I've asked myself a question in my head and answered it out loud. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely like audiences. I'm just like, oh, so I need to do this. And like,
yeah.
I'm like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Oh, myself. And they're like, okay. That's fine. But I think a lot of like, have you got any other questions on
Oh, I got one last question. Okay, what is one thing, or should I say, what is one message would you like to everyone listening to remember today?
I think that everybody just needs to be a bit more accepting of other people, whether that's someone that does have a disability or whether it's someone that doesn't have a disability. I think you should always treat people with kindness and accept them for who they are and include them at any opportunity that you can.
Yeah. So what would you say is like the hardest thing is about being an ADHD adult?
Learning to accept that some days my ADHD won't let me do things. So I have like ADHD paralysis and my washing pile is the size of Mount Everest. I think it's allowing myself the ability to say it's okay to not do things today, or it's okay to have a rest day. It's okay to not talk to anybody today if you don't want to talk to anybody. It's allowing myself to do that and not make excuses, which is what I used to do before I was diagnosed. I feel like I used to say sorry a lot, or I used to make up an excuse of why I couldn't do something. Whereas now I am very accepting of myself in, no, I don't want to do that. No is my favourite word now.
Yeah. So can you just remind us where we can find Neurospicy?
Of course you can. I'm on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook as @Neurospicy Co. At neurospicy.co, and I'm on, our website is www.neurospicyandco.uk.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So that's it for the end of today's episode, everyone. So thank you so much, obviously, Charlie from Neurospicy Co. Make sure you go check out all her stuff. And thank you for watching or listening to today's podcast. Thank you to me and myself, my co-host Antonia.
Yeah, thank you.
And remember to make sure to stay brilliantly different. Bye.
Bye.